All right, so welcome back to the program. It's still the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. And we are looking at the education sector, the situation there ahead of the inauguration of the incoming government to be led by Dr. Alex Oti. My name is Ginika Oluwaha. Now, joining me here in the studio to talk about this particular issue is Professor Chimaroke Collins, education consultant, a direct consult. Good morning, Prof, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, thank you.
All right. I don't know how you feel about the education situation. I mean, the education sector, the situation we are having in Abia State. Are you comfortable with it?
At all, I'm not comfortable at all. I've written some papers and made some publications over it. For some years, my experience about the education sector actually, especially in Abia State, because they say charity begins from home. I cannot be talking about education. I talk about national. We start from here. In Abia, education has decayed to the point of zero mark.
When you say the education has decayed to the point of zero, what exactly do you mean?
I really mean that the standard of education, when they blame lecturers and blame every other person, it's not their fault. It is started from the leaders, the kind of government we have. If you let's get back our memory to 1970 something, 77, 78, and the early 80s, you see secondary schools were booming. There was hostel accommodation, boarding system was in operation, there was discipline. And here, certain governments come and they just overnight cancel it because they want to put a note, this is what I did. That's my idea when I was this or that. It doesn't work. Now, these buildings or structures are now completely occupied by lizards and rats and bushes everywhere. That is one. These children who were then in secondary schools and even the new ones going in were now forced to trek from home and down to the school. What sense does it make? If your parents cannot control you at home, your teacher then, who are disciplined, will control you. That is one. Two, the education sector in Abia State is not well funded. Not well funded in the sense that I remember my days, and I remember recently that during Obeniono, though very shortly because I've been close to the city of power, and when Ajobina came here, he served 3 months. Good. When Ajobina came, it was just a short period of 3 months. He left, others were coming. You see, the education sector, the education standard then was different from what we're observing today. What they now do, I blame it on the leaders. What they do is connive and collude one kind of conduit pipe to siphon money. What you talk about feeding in the secondary schools and no more, it's just my, Indomie. Can't any parents afford that?
Some parents claim that they can't afford that.
Well, that is claim maybe from the part of the sector that wants to continue operating it.
Now, Prof, if you're talking about this school feeding program and whether some parents can actually afford it, when you look around, you see some schools, some children roaming the streets, and they are supposed to be in school.
Correct.
And probably their parents do not have the money or resources to send them to school. Would you say those parents have the resources to give their, the noodles you talked about?
I've taken my time to go around this place, the entire Umahia and the Bar and other places. I want to prove that those people you see hawking granules, pure water, whatever, are not properly living with their own parents. They are picked from rural villages. Give me your child, I'm going to live with him, or I'm going to train him. When I come here, I send him hacking pure water. Why? In the first place, am I right to pick that particular child from the village? No. So what I'm trying to say is that Abia State is reasonably, we are blessed with materials that we can even sponsor a free education at all levels. That is the simple truth. I have traveled to other states and it's happening, but here it's not. I visit Ghana, I visit Para, I did other northern states. What is happening in Abia is different. So what I'm putting my point about these children you see hacking, stop them and ask them. The reporter of them are just picked up from rural areas as houseboys and housegirls. Not that the parents cannot afford them. After all, when we are trained, our fathers, are they so much rich? They weren't. But we managed. Today you introduce this. Today and tomorrow you're going to have another crisis in this state by the nurses. A lot of rubbish is going on. And I'm visiting all these institutions, doing some investigations, finding out what is getting wrong. It's not that it gives me joy. It doesn't give me joy.
Okay.
But I'm doing it as my own contribution to the society and to humanity until the day I will leave this place.
Okay, now let's look at some of the educational institutions we have in the state. Take, for instance, Abia Poly.
Yeah.
After several years, we understand that that particular institution will be having her convocation, amongst other infrastructures seen in infractions seen in that school, like non-payment of salary, overbloated workforce, reduction in number of students that they have there. What can the incoming government do to address this?
All right. I'm happy the incoming government of His Excellency Dr. Alex Chioma Oti made a promise about the revival of the educational sector. And as someone who is a little bit plagued in the sector, I'm doing a memo which could be passed over to him. One, we used Abia Poly as an example. I have never taught there, but I have people who are teaching there. The problem, like I said, the circle of problems that particular polytechnic rabbits is from the government. When Obi comes in, if I come in, I will choose immediately dissolve the council and put up another council. That's not the routine. You must serve your tenure. But this godfatherism of you're coming in tomorrow and you expect me not to get things done rightly, you expect me to be a yes man, and that is what pushes them to throw you out. Once I'm thrown out, you get somebody who is not even fitted to mount there and say yes man. Every period or every month, a bill was signed for salary and so on and so forth. Move forward, bring back the money here. This is exactly the truth of what is going on in Abia. Why are they shouting and crying of no salary payment? Is Abia Polytechnic a new one? The past governor is not the first governor when Abia Polytechnic was built. I happens to be from Ngwa High School.
Okay.
Which is that Abia Polytechnic site is just get secondary school, what we call GTC there. So a lot of history I can know, but I tell you, any particular institution that cries about no payment of salary does not mean that the money is not there. Our politicians, I call it and I shout it, I blame it to them. So carry the money and siphon it out.
So the head of those institutions, are you saying it shouldn't be made to be politicians? The heads of those institutions. Yeah. Take, for instance, Abia Poly, probably, absolutely, of course, it has to be. It has to be somebody
government
from
owned properties.
So I'm saying, are you suggesting that no politician should be appointed to head those agencies?
Somehow, what I'm trying to put on ground is that during appointments, you have to pick up people who are grounded in that particular education sector, not the institution. People who knows. Okay. If you are appointing somebody,
not necessarily somebody that
just a politician, I've risen in a party, therefore I become a chairman. What am I going to cheer in an institution when you don't know anything about education? Are you getting it? That is part of a problem. So I am suggesting to the incoming government not to try such. It happens everywhere in Abia.
Okay, so what about the welfare of secondary school teachers and the dilapidated infrastructures we've seen in our secondary schools? What should be done about it by the incoming government?
Yes, as the incoming governor has promised, and I want to believe he's going to, perhaps he's hearing us wherever he is now, he's going to put his legs on ground and revive the education sector entirely. Every civilized society, any society cannot be civilized without people being trained. Therefore, what I'm trying to do, like the secondary school, the principals and the teachers, he promised that once he comes in, it is his first priority that he's going to pay and clear all the salaries. And after that, the pensioners. And I believe he will do that.
So would it be advisable for him to, continue with this issue of basic and post-basic ministries for education in the state? Like that's what we are having right now in the state.
For me, it's not necessary. Far back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 90s, there was no basic, post-basic. What are we post-basic in? Are you getting me? These are organizations or outfits curated to create a conduit pipe to siphon the fund that's earmarked for such projects or for such institutions. I'm suggesting it should be scrapped. A particular ministry, like if you talk about Aba, Aba is an industrial hub, industrial area, and it has a mighty plans for Aba. Therefore, there should be a ministry in charge.
Okay.
Not I, Chimaroke, staying here, though I'm not looking for appointment, I'm not pursuing one. But if eventually God says, go here and do this, I will be able to do it. I'm not canvassing for it. What I'm trying to say is, you're a journalist, you're mining here, And that's your profession. You lose every bit of it. You cannot, because I am a trader in the market, maybe I have done out millions into the campaign teams and so on, you pick me up and make me Commissioner, Minister of Commerce and Industry. It is quite different thing.
Now, Prof,
Yeah.
it's a source of worry, obviously. I mean, the situation of bringing more people who are not qualified into education system.
Correct. I did mention it in when I was speaking. From the second to the last call, let me pick, because it's just same kind of problem everywhere. Actually, most of our politicians, and when we talk about most of our politicians, I want to say that there are still decent politicians who doesn't get involved in all these things. But 3/4 of them are interested in giving notes to either the SCMB. Some are giving up here. Like the man was complaining, a school that has no library, what's the point sending somebody as a librarian? What do we mean by educational clerical officer? When the Minister of Education are there, the inspectorates are there, you are sending them to the school just to build up the bulk of the employed names, which we call host workers, to create problem for the incoming governor. Tomorrow you say, Okechukwu has sacked civil servants just to make a bad name. And I'm sure that the incoming governor is going to he has taken note of most of these things. I, for one, has gotten information here and there about this kind of crime. And the only way for these principals, though when they reject, they will be thrown out. Perhaps before they swear in a handover. That's their fear. They are just talking, and I thank them because the two are bold enough.
Yeah.
And I believe that once you're a citizen, you have to size your human rights. Be out. When you sack, get some human rights to come and start writing and get you back there. So the only way is for these politicians who are in office, especially now they are packing out, to stop this kind of build up of employed people in our primary and secondary schools. And not only that, it is even happening in local governments.
Okay, let's take another call now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ikechukwu, calling from Omaya.
Welcome, Ikechukwu. Go ahead.
The education system in Abia State is in a bad shape, rotten. In fact, we will recommend that the board, education governing body, should be approved. You know, some of the primary schools, secondary schools don't have library, don't even have laboratory equipment, and yet they must tell the incoming government the total budget that has been going to education system since the inception of this government. The only absolutely fine with that number. The only functioning ministry in Abia State is information, and their aid are calling it this program and the Minister of Work. Every other thing does not work. Go and verify it and check it.
Okay.
Every other thing. It's only just one day we set up one cubicle, they call it one hospital, they commission, they go there and do kind of cosmetic arrangement. Only works and the information.
Okay.
No other thing doesn't work.
Thank you.
The board must be good, because board is like an engine that makes sure that budget get done with targeted audience. So if they are not receiving infrastructure development,
thank you, Gunnar. Thank you.
Responsible.
Okay, thank you so much. Down to our SMS line. This one is coming from Kelechi Oba in Ikwana. He said, I must commend your guests, especially for today's interactive session on the education sector. For me, as an educationist, I want to suggest to the incoming government to go into the rural communities and encourage government school teachers, especially in your community, Aro, Ajatakiri in Ikwana, and be giving scholarship to the brilliant pupils there. Thank you so much, Kelechi Oba in Ikwana. This one said, okay, said, please, what is still holding Ipazona to pay Abia workers their salary? Even now, he has received the April allocation, Comrade K. I am sure they are listening and they will do the needful. Well, the proliferation of private schools should be checked. All schools, as a matter of fact, observe government programs, that is, public holidays, should be compulsory for both private and public schools. from Anaba Udo in Abai. Is that really a problem? Must you mandate everybody to do the same thing, Prof?
I do not think so, because even when you talk about professional private schools, most of these private schools are now thriving in terms of quality education.
Okay.
Whereas in the past, the public schools are highly cherished. And I think that's the best way anybody sends the child to. But today, people prefer private institutions. So I don't look at anything being a problem in profilation. What we call profilation is that when you open, you establish there are standards you must meet. And those standards, if you keep it up and you're improving, you might from nursery to secondary to primary to secondary. There is no problem there. That's not our issue. The issue is what is actually happening with us in Nabia in the educational sector, especially as it refers to primary, secondary schools and other higher institutions. You see that the point there is that the salaries are not paid. One is tempted. I am tempted to ask, where is this money? When Ojuzo was here, from when Chimaroke, I was here. I saw what was going on. After that, Ojuzo came. I was a part. We know actually what happened. I think the only thing he did then, he tried a lot. He only produced vehicles for carrying these children to the school instead of getting to school late. And everybody was happy. So, just like the last speaker was saying, the problem is still with the politicians, the leaders. He said they have not been paid. The other one said they received salary only in January. What about February, March, and April?
Okay, to our Facebook page, this one is coming from Uche Nakali. He said the standard of education is nothing to write home about. I will encourage the incoming government to fund the education sector very well because it is not well funded. They should also ensure regular payment of teachers' welfare. Okay. Thank you so much. CJ Patrick said the incoming government should place more priority in the education sector of the Abia State children, or their future is at stake. Well, it's time for us to actually leave the studio, Prof. You talked about free buses provided by Governor Joseph Carlo, former Governor Joseph Carlo's administration. Are you suggesting same for the incoming government?
No. If I have a child and I want that child to go to school, I'll provide a mix of transportation for him or her. Are you getting me? The essence of training a child is building the future of tomorrow. Every time nationally we say the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but when they are giving qualitative education, we start from here. They will become good leaders. I'm not suggesting an introduction by the incoming government of transportation or this nodal thing. No, it should be scrapped. That money can be used to fund, to pay the salaries of teachers, and they will become very serious. Why
is it all about paying salary? Should all the money be channeled to payment of salary? What about provisions of quality facilities?
Yes, quality staffs we're talking about. Now we're talking about technology, technological development. There are laptops in most of these schools. I have visited privately on investigation, and I traced, and some of them are in the house of the headmaster, not even in the school, because there is no computer instructor. Yet government did that. I was asking myself, what's the sense of sending 10 laptops or 20 laptops to a school when you have nobody to teach the children about computer or whatever? What's the sense? Is it not only importing those things to siphon money? That was what the past government do. And I don't expect that the present government is going to do that, because I am strongly convinced that the incoming administration, he has the opportunity he has a listing here. Everybody is going to put up a paper on the way forward and for us to find a solution and lift the standard of education in Abia State higher.
All right. The education consultant with a direct consult, Professor Chimaroke Collins. Thank you so much for joining me on the program this morning.
Thanks, and God bless.